In this video, I'd like to talk about reference modules. Reference modules are configurable modules, and configurable modules lie at the heart of a lot of the design choices that we made and implementation that we did in the JSonSails framework. Essentially, what a reference module is a module that can be redeployed with a new configuration and thus have the new behavior reflected by its configuration. Any module can contain references to any other module with the exception that you can't produce circular dependencies. What I'd like to do is open up, I'm going to look at my approvals page and notice that the general ranking module has already been referenced several times. So I'm going to take a look at the configuration interface on general ranking. Let me open up general ranking in the IDE, and let's browse the configuration GUI, the configuration script, and the configuration JSON. The configuration script is the constraint on what can be what the configuration GUI can contain. And so this is how we try to keep the configuration interface somewhat consistent and familiar between modules, is that we constrain the developers in that they can only use the config API to build their configuration interface. Okay, so this is the script then that the developer would use to build a configuration interface that looks something like this. For this ranking module, which let's take a quick peek at the ranking module as well. Guess I'll open it this way. I'll open it in the viewer. Essentially what the ranking module does is it presents, give it a moment to load here. It's loading new code, so the first time the viewer loads it, it takes just a little bit longer. Okay, the first thing it does is ask, it provides these instructions, which is a description of the ranking assignment. When I click begin, it presents me, in this case, with 3 item choices, which I can review, and then looking at the instructions, I'm ranking, how Catholic do I think these images are, so I might say, oh, I think that 2, 3, 1 would be the order. So if I look at this, I might say, okay, 2, and then 3, and then 1. Submit the choices. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is go back to, well, I'll make a quick mention here that the configuration GUI is really populating and managing this configuration JSON data structure, which contains a couple of fields here. The item description, the review metric, and the options for the images being ranked. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to the demo folder and create a new module called rank frameworks. Okay. I'm going to open the rank frameworks module in the IDE, and I'm going to I've already got the general ranking module on my palette, so I'm going to, if I didn't have it on the palette here, I would just click this add button. It'd pop up the add screen. I would search for general ranking, which is not showing up because it's already there. But anyway, then it would be added to the palette. So I'm going to copy and paste the general ranking module here. I'm going to click save, and I believe if I try rendering this right now, it gives me a message that says the bundle is not complete. That's because after I add it, I actually, the way it's implemented right now, I do have to reload in order for the bundle to be fully loaded from the server. Anyway, the ranking module right now appears to render, but I want to look at the configuration. Well, I can look at the configuration JSON, which was imported from the base module, and the GUI is here. So I'm going to change this. This is module number 31. It's a new module, and it has a reference to the general ranking module. I'm going to change the question here to say, which of these web frameworks have, or do you find to be more useful? Or I'll say do you think is, because not everyone's going to have used all of these web frameworks either. Okay, so review each item, observe how useful it appears. Rate the items using stars by how useful it appears, and more useful equals more stars. Okay, the last step here is to take these URLs, and I'm actually going to insert the images for these various web frameworks. Let's see. These URL links to the images I've already copied into here, which means I can just paste them in here. And I'll validate that. It looks like validation passed. I'm going to write the configuration, and I'm also going to save. So the module is saved with its new configuration now. We'll preview this, see what it looks like. It says description of the items being bring. Which of these web frameworks do you think is more useful? Begin. Review each item carefully and observe how useful it appears. Rate the items using stars by how useful. More useful equals more stars. Alright, so we have here some among the choices it picked 3 random choices, and I'm going to say, well, I think, well, actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to view this in the viewer, in the standalone viewer now. So if I took this link, let me send it. If I send this link to someone in email, say, they would load this viewer, and it would present them as though it was on on its own web page, I guess, with this configured ranking module. So here, once again, this time it chose for the first selection, asked me to choose among ASP, Django, or Sails. So I think Django, well, actually, I'm going to say JSonSails is the most useful, and I kind of believe that. I mean, Django has its purposes. There are things you can do in JSonSails that you cannot do in Django nearly as easily. But I do like Django. JSonSails is built on Django, actually. So I'm going to say JSonSails, Django, and then ASP.NET. So I'm going to rank those. It's item 3, 2, 1. So we'll go 3 and 2 are close, and I don't really like ASP.NET. Alright, and then it presents me with 3 more choices. In this case, it randomly selected the same 3. So this is just a feature of the module, which is not really that complete, but in its algorithm. But anyway, I think you get the idea at this point. So thanks for watching, and hopefully that helped understand a little bit about reference modules.